I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. The day Raymond died was the day I stopped recognizing myself. My name is Alice Carter, and at 58, I had spent the last 32 years building a life with the man I loved. Together, we created Carter Interiors, one of Boston's premier interior design firms specializing in high-end residential spaces. 5 locations across Massachusetts, a portfolio of celebrity clients, and a reputation built on quality and integrity. But numbers and achievements don't tell the whole story. They don't capture the way Raymond would bring me coffee every morning, black with just a splash of cream, exactly how I liked it. They don't reflect how we'd dance in our kitchen on Sunday evenings to Sinatra, his hand warm against the small of my back. They don't show the countless nights we spent on our porch swing, planning our future, dreaming about growing old together. Lung cancer took him 4 years ago. He never smoked a day in his life, but cancer doesn't care about fairness. It found him anyway. I remember the hospital room, antiseptic and cold despite the summer heat outside. Raymond's once robust frame had withered, his skin stretched taut over bones that seemed too fragile to support him. But his eyes, those deep brown eyes that had captivated me since our first date at Boston Common, they remained the same, clear, present, loving. "Alice," he whispered, his voice raspy from the ventilator they had removed hours earlier. "Promise me something." I leaned closer, my tears falling onto his hospital gown. "Anything. Take care of Jason." Our son was 30 then, still finding his footing in life. "But don't spoil him. Teach him to be strong, to stand on his own feet." I failed that promise. I did exactly the opposite. After Raymond was gone, I sank into a grief so profound it felt like drowning with every breath. Jason moved in with me, our sprawling Beacon Hill brownstone suddenly feeling both empty without Raymond and crowded with memories. "I'll take care of you, Mom," Jason said, his father's eyes looking back at me from a younger face. "So you won't be alone." But it wasn't care. It was convenience disguised as concern. And I, in my sorrow and loneliness, began giving him everything. Whatever he asked for, whatever he hinted he needed. "Mom, my car broke down. Could you help me get a new one?" I gave him $50,000. He bought a BMW. "Mom, I want to start a business, a real estate brokerage. Would you invest?" I gave him $200,000. The business failed within 8 months. "Mom, Ashley and I want to get married, but we need a house. Could you help us?" I bought them a $1.2 million home in Newton, one of Boston's most exclusive neighborhoods. And so it continued. For 4 years. Each request fulfilled. Each loan never repaid. Each investment lost without explanation. But I never complained because Jason was all I had left of Raymond, and I was afraid, terrified that if I said no, if I set boundaries, he would leave, and I would be completely alone. My friends saw what was happening. "Alice, he's taking advantage of you," my oldest friend Margaret warned over lunch one day. Raymond would be furious. "He's just going through a phase," I defended, stirring my untouched soup. "He'll find his way." But deep down, I knew she was right. I just couldn't bear to admit it. 6 months ago, Jason came with a different proposal. He stood in my kitchen, leaning against the granite countertop Raymond had installed with his own hands, twirling his car keys around his finger, a habit he'd had since high school that always signaled he wanted something. "Mom, Ashley's pregnant. We're having a baby." My heart leaped. A grandchild, a piece of Raymond living on. "That's wonderful news, Jason." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, but here's the thing. The house you bought us, it's not big enough." I felt the first prickle of unease. The house had 5 bedrooms, a finished basement, and a backyard large enough to host the Patriots' defensive line. And honestly, Mom, he continued, glancing around my kitchen, this house is too big for just one person. Don't you get lonely here? It's my home, Jason. It's where I lived with your father. I know, but wouldn't it be better if we all lived together as a family? Ashley could look after you, and when the baby comes, you can see your grandchild every day. Something about his proposal felt off, but the idea of having family close again, of hearing a child's laughter in these silent halls, it was tempting. Would you sell your house? I asked. No, we'd rent it out as an investment, but we'd live here with you. There's plenty of space for everyone. Let me think about it. But Jason didn't wait for my answer. 2 weeks later, he and Ashley arrived with suitcases and boxes. Just temporarily, they assured me, while we figure things out. Temporary became permanent faster than I could process. They moved into the master bedroom, the room where Raymond and I had spent 3 decades of our lives. They redecorated without asking, replacing Raymond's favorite leather chair, changing the wall color from the soft blue he'd loved to a stark modern gray. Mom, the style of the house is so outdated. It needs modernizing, Jason explained when I objected. They were erasing Raymond. Each change eliminated another piece of him, the colors he'd chosen, the furniture we'd bought together, the curtains I'd sewn myself during our first year of marriage. Could you at least leave our bedroom as it was? I pleaded. Jason exchanged a look with Ashley before answering. Mom, that's the master bedroom. It's the largest. We need it for us and the baby. Don't be selfish. Dad isn't here anymore. It's just a room and we need it more than you do. I was relocated to a small guest room at the back of the house. I accepted because I was afraid of being alone, but I was more alone than ever. Things worsened when the baby arrived. Noah, my grandson, a beautiful child with Raymond's dimpled chin who should have brought joy into my life. But Jason and Ashley weaponized him. Mom, you can't see Noah if you don't help with the expenses. Mom, Noah needs special formula, designer clothes. Can you pay? And I paid for everything because I wanted to be near my grandson, the only family I had left, but they rarely let me hold him. You're too old, Mom. Your hands shake. It's not safe. Just watch from a distance. My own home became a prison. I couldn't make noise because the baby is sleeping. I couldn't cook because you're in the way in the kitchen. I couldn't watch television because we're using the living room. And Carter Interiors, my beloved company, Jason started involving himself there too. Mom, let me help you. I can modernize everything, make the stores more profitable. I gave him access to the corporate accounts. Just to help, I said. So you can learn the business. He began making decisions without consulting me. He fired loyal employees, changed suppliers for cheaper but inferior quality, raised prices, and the profits began to disappear. Where is the money going, Jason? I finally asked 3 months ago, when I noticed our flagship store's revenue had dropped by 40% despite increased sales. Into modernizing, Mom, into growth investments. Don't you understand how modern business works? I've been in this business for 30 years. Yes, and that's why it's stagnant. It needs fresh blood, new ideas, my vision. I should have put my foot down then. I should have reclaimed my company, my home, my life. But the fear of losing my son, of being truly alone, paralyzed me. 3 months before Christmas, Jason came with papers. Many papers, in fancy legal folders with gold embossing. Mom, I need you to sign these. It's to better organize the finances, to protect you. Protect me from what? From yourself. His tone was gentle but condescending. You're getting older. Sometimes you get confused, forget things. We need to make sure that if anything happens to you, everything is in order. I don't get confused. My mind is perfectly fine. Mom, yesterday you forgot where you put your keys. Last week you couldn't remember what day it was. They were lies, but he said them with such conviction that I began doubting myself. Was I really forgetting things? Was my mind failing me? Just sign, Mom. It's for your own good. I didn't sign that day. Something stopped me. A voice inside that sounded like Raymond. Don't do it, Alice. Don't trust this. Jason was furious. You don't trust your own son? Your only family? It's not that. I just want my lawyer to review the documents first. You don't need a lawyer. I'm your son. I'm protecting you. Still, I insisted. He stormed out. And from that day, everything changed. He became cold, distant. Ashley stopped speaking to me entirely and banned me from seeing Noah. Until you sign, you have no access to your grandson. It was emotional blackmail, pure and simple, but it worked because each day without seeing Noah was tearing me apart a little more. As Christmas approached, I hoped things would improve, that the holiday spirit would soften their hearts. I bought gifts for everyone, especially Noah. Toys, clothes, everything a 6-month-old could need. The morning of December 24th, I went downstairs early. I wanted to prepare breakfast like I used to when Raymond was alive. Pancakes, fresh fruit, a tradition spanning decades in our family. But when I entered the kitchen, Ashley was already there. She looked at me with thinly veiled contempt. What are you doing here? I'm going to make breakfast for everyone. Not today. We have plans and they don't include you. But it's Christmas Eve. We're family. Jason, she called. My son appeared, his expression unfriendly. What's going on? Your mother doesn't understand that she's not welcome today. Mom, Ashley's parents are coming over, her sisters, their whole family, and frankly, we don't want you here. You'll ruin the celebration. The words hit me like physical blows. Ruin it? This is my house. It's our house now, and we want privacy, so you need to leave. Leave? Go where? I don't know. A hotel, a friend's house? I don't care. Just go. Jason, please. I'm your mother. It's Christmas. And you're a burden, a bitter old woman who won't let go of control, who won't let us live our lives. So go, just for today, and maybe if you cooperate, if you finally sign those papers, you can come back. I won't sign anything without my lawyer reviewing it. Then don't come back. You can't throw me out of my own house. I can't? Jason pulled out his phone, showed me something on the screen. See this? It's the deed to the house in my name signed 2 months ago. That's impossible. I never transferred. Remember those papers you signed 2 months ago? The ones I said were for organizing accounts? They were transfer documents for the house, the business, everything. And you signed them. I froze. But my lawyer? What lawyer, Mom? That person you thought was your lawyer was someone I hired. It was all planned, and now legally everything is mine. The house, Carter Interiors, the accounts, everything. That's fraud. Prove it. You have your signature on voluntarily signed documents, notarized, all legal. You have nothing, Mom, and you are nothing. So get out before I call the police and have you removed by force. Ashley was smiling, enjoying my humiliation, my pain. You have 30 minutes to pack whatever you can carry. Then I'm locking the door, and if you try to come back, I'll report you for trespassing. I went upstairs to my small room, the guest room to which I'd been relegated. With shaking hands, I packed what little I had, clothes, some photos of Raymond, my wallet with barely $300 cash. That was all. I had no access to my bank accounts. Jason had emptied them. I had no credit cards. He had canceled them. I had no home. He had stolen it. I had no business. It was now his. At 60 years old, I was on the street with nothing, with no one. When I came downstairs with my small suitcase, Jason was waiting at the door, arms crossed, not a hint of remorse on his face. "Mom, when you're ready to sign the rest of the documents, the ones giving me power of attorney due to your mental incompetence, call me. Then you can come back, not as the owner, but as our guest in your little room, cared for by us, because you're too old to take care of yourself." "How can you do this to me? I'm your mother." "And I'm your future. Get used to it." The door closed in my face. Christmas Eve, cold night, and I, a 60-year-old woman who had built an empire, was standing on the street, homeless. I walked aimlessly, not knowing where to go. All my friends were business associates, and Jason had probably already told them some story, that I was senile, that I was dangerous, that they shouldn't help me. Boston streets were festive, decorated with twinkling lights and wreaths. Families hurried past me, carrying last-minute gifts, laughing together. The contrast with my situation was almost unbearable. I reached Boston Common, where Raymond had proposed to me 34 years earlier. I sat on a bench, and for the first time in 4 years since Raymond died, I cried. I cried for everything lost. The family I thought I had, the son I turned out not to have, the life I had built that was snatched away in an instant. "Are you all right, ma'am?" a voice asked. I looked up through tear-blurred eyes. A young woman, perhaps in her early 30s, stood before me, elegantly dressed in a camel-colored coat, concern in her eyes. I'm fine," I lied. "You're not. You're crying alone on Christmas Eve. Do you have somewhere to stay?" "Family. Not anymore." The woman sat beside me. "My name is Maria Wilson. I work for Mr. Scott Reynolds. Perhaps you've heard of him." I knew the name. Scott Reynolds was one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in America. Widower, billionaire, philanthropist. What does that have to do with me? Mr. Reynolds is looking for a landscape manager, someone with real experience, someone who loves plants, who understands how to make beautiful things grow. His previous manager quit last week, and he's desperate to find someone before New Year's. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because there's something about you, a sadness, yes, but also dignity. And Mr. Reynolds values dignity. Do you have experience with plants?" "I owned 5 interior design stores for 30 years. Had. My son stole them from me. Today. That's why I'm here." Maria nodded. No judgment, no pity, just understanding. "Would you be interested in the job? It pays well. It includes housing on the property. And Mr. Reynolds is fair, good to his staff." "Why are you helping me? You don't know me." "Because it's Christmas, and no one deserves to be alone on the street on Christmas. And because I believe in second chances. Would you like one?" I looked up at the sky, searching for a sign, searching for Raymond, asking him what to do. And then I felt something, a warmth, a certainty, his voice in my mind. "Take it, Alice. This is your chance to start again." "Yes," I said. "I accept." Maria smiled. "Good. I'll take you to the estate. You can start tomorrow. Today, rest, have a warm meal, and sleep in a real bed. Tomorrow, your new life begins." I climbed into her car, a sleek Mercedes. As we left the Common, I looked back at the city where I had built everything, where I had lost everything. But now I was looking forward, to the unknown, to a second chance I didn't know I needed. And though my heart was broken, though everything seemed lost, a small spark of hope began to ignite. Because sometimes when you lose everything, when you hit rock bottom, that's when you can finally start building something new, something better, something true. And my new life was about to begin. The Reynolds estate wasn't just a house, it was a world apart, Situated on 50 acres in Lincoln, just outside Boston, it was surrounded by tall stone walls with gardens that stretched for acres. Fountains, sculptures, and plants. So many plants that for the first time in hours, I felt something close to peace. Maria led me to a small cottage at the back of the property. This will be your residence. Simple but comfortable. It has everything you need. Inside was a bedroom, a small kitchen, a bathroom, and basic but clean furniture. It was 1,000 times better than the guest room where Jason had relegated me. Rest tonight, Maria Sassy said. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., come to the main house. Mr. Reynolds will want to meet you, and afterward, I'll show you the gardens, everything you need to know. Thank you for this, for giving me this opportunity. Don't thank me. Thank Mr. Reynolds, and show him it was worth trusting you. She left, and I was alone in my new home, small but mine, at least for now. I sat on the bed and for the first time really processed what had happened. My son had betrayed me, stolen everything, thrown me out on Christmas Eve, and I had accepted a job as a landscape manager, from owner of 5 design stores to employed gardener. The fall was humiliating, but also honest. It was real work with my hands, doing something I loved, working with plants. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what I needed. The next morning I woke early, showered, and put on the most presentable outfit I had, black slacks and a blue cashmere sweater that Raymond had given me for our last Christmas together. At precisely 8 o'clock a.m., I knocked on the door of the main house. A housekeeper opened it. Miss Carter? Yes. Mr. Reynolds is waiting for you in the rear garden. Follow me. We walked through the house. It was elegant but not ostentatious, with art on the walls but also family photos, with life. It wasn't a museum, it was a home. We reached the back garden, and there I saw him for the first time. Scott Reynolds. He was 45 according to what I'd read in articles, but looked younger. Dark hair with distinguished silver at the temples, minimal lines around his eyes that crinkled when he smiled, dressed simply in jeans and a white button-down shirt. And he was on his knees in the dirt, planting something. He turned when he heard us approach, and his eyes were blue, intelligent, and sad, like mine. Ms. Carter, he said, standing up and dusting off his hands. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Reynolds. Call me Scott, and I'll call you Alice. Is that all right? That sounds perfect. Maria told me a bit about your situation, and I want you to know that here, at this house, your past doesn't matter. Only your present and your future matter. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Let me show you the gardens. We walked for an hour. The gardens were extensive, beautiful, but also neglected in parts. The previous landscape manager clearly hadn't had real experience. This place is my sanctuary, Scott explained as we walked. When my wife died 5 years ago, the gardens were the only thing that kept me sane. Working with the earth, growing things. It reminded me that life goes on, even after loss. I understand completely. I felt the same with my design work. After my husband passed, we stopped, looked at each other, and in that moment I recognized something in him. The same pain I carried, the same loss, the same loneliness. Then you understand, he said softly, why I need this place to be perfect. Because it's not just a garden, it's a place of healing. I'll make it perfect, I promise. He studied me for a moment before speaking again. There's something else you should know. I have a son, Oliver. He's 8. He's deaf, born that way, and this garden is his favorite place. He spends hours here alone because no one knows how to talk to him. No one speaks sign language. I felt a surge of emotion. I know sign language. Scott stopped walking. You do? My husband had a deaf sister. We learned together to communicate with her years ago. You don't forget it. His eyes filled with tears. Would you talk to him? Try to communicate with him? Of course, it would be an honor. He usually comes to the garden after school around 3 o'clock. I'll be here. Scott took my hands in his. His were trembling. You don't know what this means to me. To him. He's so alone, so isolated. And I don't know how to reach him. I'm his father, but sometimes I feel like we're strangers. It's not strange. He just needs someone who speaks his language, literally and figuratively. He nodded, and in that moment something changed. We weren't employer and employee. We were two broken people trying to heal, trying to connect. I spent the next few hours evaluating the gardens, making lists of what was needed. Plants to replace, areas to redesign, irrigation systems to repair. It was hard work, but it was work I loved. And for the first time in months, perhaps years, I felt useful, valued, purposeful. At 3 p.m., I saw him. Oliver, a small boy with dark hair and curious eyes, walked into the garden with a backpack. He sat on a bench under a large oak tree and took out a book. I approached slowly, not wanting to frighten him. When I was a few meters away, he saw me. His eyes widened. He clearly wasn't expecting to see someone new. I raised my hands and spoke in sign language. Hello, my name is Alice. I'm the new landscape manager. Oliver froze, processing. Then, slowly, he raised his hands. You know how to talk like this? Yes. I learned many years ago. What's your name? Oliver. It's nice to meet you, Oliver. What are you reading? He showed me the book. It was about dinosaurs. I like dinosaurs, he signed, especially the plant-eating ones. I don't like meat. I smiled. I don't like meat much either. I prefer vegetables and fruits. Really? Really. Did you know that in this garden we could plant fruit trees, apples, strawberries, peaches? Oliver's eyes lit up. We could? If your dad gives permission, yes. We could make a special garden just for you with all your favorite fruits. Yes, please. And then, for the first time in probably a very long time, Oliver smiled. A big, genuine smile that lit up his entire face. I heard a gasp behind me. I turned. Scott was there, hands over his mouth, tears streaming down his cheeks. He walked quickly to us, knelt beside Oliver, and in sign language asked, "Are you okay, my love?" "Dad, Alice talks like me, and she's going to make a garden for me with fruits." Scott looked at me and said those 5 words that left me speechless. "Where have you been all our lives?" I didn't know how to respond, because I was wondering the same thing about him. The cold bit through my thin coat as I wandered aimlessly through Boston Common, snow crunching beneath my boots. Christmas lights twinkled mockingly all around me, their cheerful glow a stark contrast to the darkness enveloping my heart. I finally collapsed onto a bench, the same one where Raymond had proposed to me 34 years earlier, and let the tears flow freely. For 4 years after Raymond's death, I'd held my grief at bay, focusing instead on taking care of Jason. Now, with everything gone, my home, my business, my family, the dam broke. My shoulders shook with sobs that came from somewhere deep and primal. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you all right?" I looked up, hastily wiping tears from my face. A young woman stood before me, elegant in a camel wool coat, concern etched across her features. She couldn't have been more than 35. "I'm fine," I lied, my voice betraying me by cracking. "You're sitting alone on a bench on Christmas Eve, crying. You're not fine." She sat down beside me, keeping a respectful distance. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" I laughed bitterly. My son threw me out of my own house an hour ago. So no, I don't. The woman studied me for a moment. My name is Maria Wilson. I work as a personal assistant to Scott Reynolds. The name rang a bell. Scott Reynolds, the tech entrepreneur who'd revolutionized renewable energy storage technology. His face occasionally graced business magazines and innovation summits. What does that have to do with me? I asked, pulling my coat tighter. Mr. Reynolds is looking for someone to manage his estate gardens. His previous landscape manager quit suddenly last week, and the gardens are his sanctuary. When I saw you, she hesitated. There's something about you, a dignity, despite everything. Mr. Reynolds values that quality above all others. You don't know anything about me. I know you're well dressed despite your circumstances. You speak with education, and you have calluses on your hands that suggest you work with them. She smiled slightly. I'm good at reading people. It's part of my job. I used to own Carter Interiors, 5 locations across Massachusetts. But my son stole it all through fraud. Maria nodded, unsurprised. Do you have experience with gardens, plants? My husband and I designed our own garden. I handled the landscaping while running the business. Plants have always been my escape. The position includes a cottage on the property. It's small but comfortable. Would you be interested? I looked up at the dark winter sky. What options did I have? A hotel would drain my limited cash within days. Friends? Jason had been systematically alienating me from them for years. Why are you helping me? I finally asked. Because it's Christmas Eve, and no one should be alone on the street tonight. Maria's expression softened. And because I believe everyone deserves a second chance. My mother was in a similar situation once. Someone helped her. I'm paying it forward. Something about her sincerity reached past my defenses. Maybe it was desperation, or maybe it was the feeling that Raymond would want me to take this lifeline. Yes, I said finally. I'd like to accept the position. Maria's smile was warm. Good. Mr. Reynolds will be pleased. Let me take you there now. You can start officially after the holidays, but you shouldn't be alone tonight. As her Mercedes pulled away from Boston Common, I looked back at the city lights, the place where I'd built everything, where I'd lost everything. For the first time since Raymond died, I had absolutely nothing tying me to the past. Perhaps that was its own kind of freedom. The Reynolds estate was located in Lincoln, a wealthy suburb about 20 minutes outside Boston proper. As we passed through ornate iron gates and drove up a winding driveway lined with dormant maple trees, I caught my first glimpse of the main house, a modern interpretation of a Georgian manor, its large windows glowing with warm light against the night sky. This is where Mr. Reynolds lives with his son, Maria explained. The gardens cover about 15 acres. They're currently neglected. She drove past the main house to a small cottage set back near a grove of pine trees. It was charming. Stone exterior with a slate roof, smoke curling from the chimney. This will be your residence, she said, parking and retrieving my small suitcase from the trunk. Mr. Reynolds had it prepared as soon as I called him about you. The interior was rustic but luxurious. Hardwood floors, a small but modern kitchen, a living area with a stone fireplace already crackling with flame, and a bedroom with the most comfortable-looking bed I'd seen in months. There's food in the refrigerator, Maria said. Bathroom has all the essentials. Mr. Reynolds would like to meet you tomorrow at 10 a.m., if that's convenient. He always has brunch in the garden room on Christmas Day. I turned to her, overwhelmed by the sudden kindness after hours of cruelty. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. Just be good at your job. She smiled. Mr. Reynolds values competence above all else. Good night, Ms. Carter. Merry Christmas. After she left, I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my coat, trying to process everything that had happened. 24 hours ago, I had been in my own home preparing for Christmas, planning to make Raymond's favorite breakfast for Jason and Ashley. Now I was in a stranger's cottage, about to begin work as a gardener. The fall should have felt humiliating, but instead it felt like possibility. I slept better that night than I had in years. The next morning I woke to sunlight streaming through lace curtains. For a moment I was disoriented, then the events of Christmas Eve came rushing back. I checked my watch. 8:30 a.m. I had time to shower and find something presentable to wear before meeting my new employer. The bathroom was stocked with high-end toiletries. After showering, I dressed in the most professional outfit I had packed. Black slacks and a blue cashmere sweater that Raymond had given me on our last Christmas together. At precisely 10 a.m., I knocked on the main house's door. A housekeeper answered. "Miss Carter? I'm Elise. Please follow me. Mr. Reynolds is waiting in the garden room." We walked through the house, tastefully decorated with a mix of modern art and classic pieces. Family photos lined a hallway, mostly of a dark-haired boy at various ages. Unlike many wealthy homes I'd designed, this one felt lived in, loved. The garden room was a glass-enclosed space at the back of the house, filled with potted plants and wicker furniture. Through the windows I could see acres of garden, dormant for winter, but with good bones and structure. A man stood with his back to me, looking out at the garden. He turned when Elise announced me. Scott Reynolds was younger than I expected, perhaps mid-40s. Tall, with dark hair silvering at the temples, he had the lean build of someone who exercises regularly but doesn't obsess over it. His eyes were startlingly blue, intelligent, and carrying a sadness I recognized all too well. "Miss Carter, welcome to my home." His voice was warm, his handshake firm. "Please, sit. Would you like coffee? Tea?" "Coffee, please. Black." He nodded to Elise, who disappeared silently. "Maria told me about your situation," he said once we were seated. "I want you to know that your past doesn't matter here. I only care about your present skills and future potential." "Thank you, Mr. Reynolds." "Scott, please. And may I call you Alice?" "Of course." Elise returned with coffee and a plate of pastries. After she left, Scott leaned forward. "I want to be clear about the position. This isn't just a gardening job. I need someone to completely reimagine these gardens. My late wife, Eliza, designed them, but since her passing 5 years ago, they've been maintained but not loved. I want them to live again." I glanced out at the winter landscape. I'd need to see them properly to develop a plan, but even from here, I can tell they have good structure. When spring comes, "I don't want to wait for spring," he interrupted. "There's work to be done now. Winter pruning, soil preparation, structural elements. I want these gardens to be magnificent when spring arrives." His intensity surprised me. "May I ask why this is so important to you?" Scott looked out at the garden, his profile sharp against the glass. "After Eliza died, I threw myself into work, built the business into what it is today, but I neglected the things she cared about most. This home, these gardens, and most importantly, our son." He turned back to me, his expression vulnerable in a way that powerful men rarely allow themselves to be. This garden was her heart. Restoring it is the least I can do for her memory, and for Oliver. "Your son?" "Yes, Oliver. He's 8. He's deaf, born that way. The garden was where Eliza would spend time with him, where they connected." Scott's hands tightened around his coffee cup. "Since she died, he spends hours here alone, but no one can really communicate with him. Not properly." "No one knows sign language?" "I've tried to learn, but I'm not good at it. Oliver is patient with me, but I can see his frustration. The staff don't know it." His teachers at the special school do, but here he's isolated in his own world. My heart ached for this child. I know sign language. Scott's head snapped up. You do? My husband's sister was deaf. We learned together years ago to communicate with her. It becomes like muscle memory. You don't forget. The hope that bloomed on his face was almost painful to witness. Would you be willing to try communicating with Oliver? He usually comes to the garden after lunch, around 1 o'clock. Of course, I'd be honored. Scott stood abruptly. Let me show you the gardens, so you can start planning. For the next hour, we walked the property. Despite the winter bareness, I could see the gardens had once been magnificent. Formal parterres near the house giving way to more naturalistic plantings, a Japanese-inspired meditation garden, a small orchard, and several water features, all currently winterized. What do you think? Scott asked as we completed our circuit. Can they be saved? They don't need saving. They need awakening. I gestured to a dormant rose garden. These need proper winter pruning. The structural elements are solid, but neglected. By spring, with the right care, this place will be magnificent again. Scott nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. I've had 3 landscape designers tell me to tear everything out and start fresh. Thank you for seeing what I see, the potential in what remains. Sometimes what remains is the most valuable part, I said quietly. Our eyes met, and something passed between us. Recognition, perhaps. 2 people who understood loss, who valued preservation over replacement. I'll leave you to get started, he said. Maria has set up an account for any supplies you need. Don't hesitate to ask for help from the groundskeeping staff. He turned to go, then stopped. And Alice, thank you for accepting this position. I think you may be exactly what this place needs. As he walked away, I couldn't help but wonder if he meant the gardens, or something more. After spending the morning making detailed notes and drawings of the garden areas needing immediate attention, I returned to the cottage for a quick lunch. At precisely 1 o'clock, I was back in the main garden, kneeling beside a bed of dormant roses, carefully pruning away dead wood to stimulate spring growth. A movement caught my eye. A small figure had entered the garden from the house, a boy with dark hair and his father's features. He walked with purpose to a bench beneath a large oak tree, sat down and pulled a book from his backpack. Oliver. I set my pruning shears aside and approached slowly, not wanting to startle him. When I was about 10 feet away, he noticed me and stiffened, clearly not expecting to see a stranger. I stopped and raised my hands, signing clearly. Hello, my name is Alice. I'm the new garden manager. His eyes widened in shock. He stared at me for a long moment, then slowly raised his hands. You know how to sign? His movements were precise, careful. Yes, I signed back. I learned many years ago to talk with my husband's sister. She was deaf too. No one here signs except Dad, and he's not very good. He's learning. That shows he cares. Oliver considered this, then asked, What are you doing to the roses? Winter pruning. Cutting away the dead parts so new growth will be stronger in spring. Would you like to see? He nodded and slid off the bench, approaching cautiously. I showed him how to identify dead wood versus dormant canes, explaining in sign language the entire process. Plants sleep in winter, I explained, but they're still alive inside. Like people, they need care even when they seem quiet. My mom loved roses, Oliver signed, his small fingers moving gracefully. The yellow ones were her favorite. Then we'll make sure the yellow roses are especially beautiful this spring. Can we plant other things too? I like strawberries. We could create a special garden just for things you like to eat. Would that be nice? His face lit up. Yes, My own garden? If your father agrees, yes. Your own special place to grow whatever you want. I'd like that, he signed, then hesitated before adding, No one ever asks what I want. The simple statement broke my heart. I'm asking now, what else would you like in your garden? For the next hour, Oliver and I sat on the bench, signing back and forth about plants, gardens, and gradually, his life. He was clearly intelligent, observant, and desperately lonely. Do you like dinosaurs? He asked suddenly. I don't know much about them, I admitted. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a book filled with illustrations of prehistoric creatures. I'll teach you, he signed, his expression earnest. I felt a presence behind us and turned to see Scott standing a few yards away, watching our interaction with an expression of wonder. When Oliver noticed his father, he jumped up excitedly. Dad, he signed rapidly. Alice knows how to talk with her hands. Really talk, not just simple things. And she's going to help me make my own garden with strawberries. Scott approached slowly, his eyes never leaving my face. He knelt beside Oliver and signed back carefully. That's wonderful, son. I see you two are getting along. She understands me, Dad. Really understands. Scott looked at me, his eyes shining with unshed tears. Where have you been all our lives? He whispered. It wasn't a question that required an answer, which was fortunate, because I had none to give. Instead, I watched as father and son signed to each other, Scott's movements halting but determined, Oliver's patient and encouraging. At that moment, I realized I'd been given something rare, the chance to make a genuine difference in someone's life. Not through money or status, but through a skill I'd learned out of love decades ago, the simple ability to communicate. As the winter afternoon began to fade, Oliver reluctantly signed that he needed to go inside to finish his homework. He looked at me hopefully. Will you be here tomorrow? Every day, I promised. This is my job now. Good. He gave a small wave and headed toward the house. Scott remained behind, watching his son go before turning to me. I haven't seen him this animated in years. His voice was thick with emotion. What did you talk about? Plants, dinosaurs, his ideas for a garden of his own. He's a remarkable child, Scott. So bright, so observant. I know he is. He ran a hand through his hair. I've been failing him. I can see that now. You haven't failed him. You're here. You're trying to learn his language. Many parents wouldn't make that effort. It's not enough. It is to Oliver. He told me how much he appreciates that you try, even when it's difficult for you. Scott's expression softened. He said that? He did. He loves you very much. He just needs bridges to help him connect to your world, and you to his. And you're building those bridges. Scott looked out over the winter garden. When Maria called me last night and told me she'd found someone who might be perfect for the garden position, I never imagined this. Life has a strange way of bringing the right people together at the right time, I said, even through painful circumstances. Yes, Scott agreed quietly. Yes, it does. As we walked back toward the house side by side, I felt something I hadn't experienced since Raymond died, a sense of purpose, of belonging, not just to a place, but to the lives of others, to a future that might hold more than just survival. Over the next few weeks, a rhythm developed. I would work in the gardens from early morning, documenting, planning, and beginning the winter restoration work. Scott had given me a generous budget and free rein to order whatever supplies I needed. Each afternoon, Oliver would join me after school. We'd work together on small projects I'd designed specifically for him, building birdhouses, preparing the area for his future strawberry patch. learning about different plants through picture books and hands-on examples. Scott would often join us toward the end of the afternoon, his sign language improving daily through practice with both Oliver and me. I noticed he was coming home earlier from work, rearranging his schedule to spend more time at the estate. One evening in late January, after Oliver had gone inside, Scott invited me to join him for dinner. "Nothing formal," he assured me. "Just, I'd like to talk more." The nothing formal turned out to be a meal prepared by his chef in the smaller family dining room, with a crackling fire and views of the illuminated winter garden I'd been steadily transforming. "I wanted to thank you," Scott said as we finished our main course. "The changes you've made in just a few weeks, not just to the garden, but to Oliver, to this home, they're remarkable." "I've hardly done anything yet. Wait until spring when—" "I'm not just talking about the plants, Alice." He set down his fork. "For the first time since Eliza died, this place feels like a home again. Oliver is happier. He talks more, signs more, I mean. He's excited about coming home from school. And He hesitated. "I find myself looking forward to coming home too." I felt a flutter in my chest that I immediately tried to suppress. "I'm glad I could help create a better environment." "It's more than the environment." Scott's gaze was direct, unwavering. "It's you, Alice. Your presence, your perspective, your kindness." I looked down at my plate, suddenly unsure. "Scott, I'm just doing my job." "We both know it's more than that." When I glanced up, the intensity in his eyes made me catch my breath. "Tell me about your husband," he said softly. The request surprised me. "Raymond?" "Yes. You loved him very much, didn't you?" 32 years. He was everything. I found myself smiling at the memories. Practical, hard-working, but with this wonderful dry humor that would catch you by surprise. He built our business from nothing, started with one small design shop, and expanded it into what became Carter Interiors. "And you helped him?" "We were partners in everything. That's what made losing him so hard. It wasn't just losing the person I loved. It was losing my other half, my collaborator, my best friend." Scott nodded. "Eliza was like that for me. We met at MIT. She was studying environmental science while I was in engineering. Everyone thought I was the brilliant one, but she was the visionary. My storage technology was successful because she helped me understand how it could serve environmental needs. She designed these gardens? Every inch. She believed in creating harmony between technology and nature." His expression grew distant. "When she died, car accident, so sudden, I threw myself into the business. It was the only way I knew to honor her legacy, by making our company even more successful. But I neglected the other parts of her legacy, this home, these gardens." "And Oliver," I said gently. Scott's eyes grew moist. "Yes, my brilliant, beautiful son, who got his mother's compassion and my stubbornness. I tried to connect with him, but without Eliza as our bridge." He shook his head. "I failed him." "You didn't fail him, Scott. You were grieving too." "I should have done better. We all should have done better. After Raymond died, I completely lost myself. I gave Jason everything he asked for because it was easier than dealing with my grief, my loneliness. And now I'm learning that starting over isn't the worst thing that can happen. Sometimes it's a gift, a chance to rebuild, but better this time." Scott reached across the table and took my hand. His touch sent a warmth through me that I hadn't felt in years. "Alice, I know this might seem fast, but I haven't felt this connected to anyone since Eliza. When I see you with Oliver, when we talk like this, it feels right. In a way nothing has for 5 years. My heart raced. "Scott, You don't need to say anything now. I just wanted you to know. Whatever happens, I'm grateful you came into our lives." As I walked back to my cottage that night, snow beginning to fall gently around me, I felt both terrified and exhilarated. At 60, I had never expected to feel this way again, this awakening, this possibility. Raymond had been the love of my life. I had never imagined there could be room for anyone else. But perhaps the heart, like a garden, could be renewed, replanted, reborn. February brought the first hints of the coming spring. Snowdrops pushing through the melting snow, buds swelling on the bare branches. The gardens were responding to my care, slowly awakening from their long dormancy. So was I. My relationship with Scott evolved gradually, naturally. More shared dinners, long conversations beside the fire, walks through the transforming gardens. He respected my pace, never pushing, but making his feelings increasingly clear. Oliver, with a child's intuition, noticed the change between us. One afternoon, as we prepared the soil for his strawberry patch, he signed, "Do you like my dad?" The directness of the question startled me. "Yes," I signed back honestly. "I like him very much." "Good. He smiles now. Before you came, he didn't smile much." "And how do you feel about that? About me spending time with your father?" Oliver considered this seriously. "Mom is gone. She can't come back. But Dad doesn't have to be lonely." He looked up at me, his small face solemn. "Neither do you." That evening, Scott invited me to dinner again, but this time the table was set for 3. Oliver joined us, and for the first time I experienced what felt like a family meal. Scott and I both signing with Oliver, the 3 of us connected in conversation that flowed naturally between spoken word and hand movements. After Oliver went to bed, Scott and I moved to the library, a cozy room lined with books and warmed by a wood-burning fireplace. "He adores you," Scott said, handing me a glass of wine as we settled onto the sofa. "The feeling is mutual. He's an extraordinary child." "Alice, there's something I need to ask you." Scott's expression grew serious. "These past weeks have been... I've never expected to feel this way again. To find someone who understands not just me, but my son, my life, what matters to me." My heart beat faster. "Scott, I'm not proposing. Not yet," he said with a small smile. "But I want to be clear about my intentions. I'm falling in love with you, Alice, and I want to know if there's any chance you might be feeling the same." The honesty of his words took my breath away. In my previous life, before Jason's betrayal, before losing everything, I might have hesitated, might have wondered about appearances or propriety. But that Alice was gone. In her place was a woman who understood how precious and rare real connection was. "Yes," I said simply. "I'm feeling the same." The relief and joy that crossed his face made him look years younger. He took my hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on my palm. "I know it hasn't been long, and we both have pasts, losses that shaped us, but I believe..." The sharp ring of the doorbell interrupted him. Scott frowned. "Who could that be at this hour?" His housekeeper, Elise, appeared at the library door. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Reynolds, but there's a young man at the door insisting on speaking with Ms. Carter. He says he's her son." Ice formed in my veins. "Jason?" "He's very persistent, sir. Says it's urgent family business." Scott looked at me, concern evident. "Do you want to see him?" "No," I said immediately, then reconsidered. "Yes, I should face him, but not alone." "You won't be." Scott squeezed my hand. "Show him to the front sitting room, Elise. We'll be there in a moment." When we entered the sitting room, Jason was pacing impatiently. He was dressed expensively, but looked disheveled, with dark circles under his eyes, and a tension in his movements that I recognized as desperation. "Mom," he said, his voice falsely warm as he moved toward me. I've been so worried about you." "How did you find me, Jason?" "It wasn't easy. You disappeared. Your own son had to hire a private investigator." He glanced at Scott, his expression calculating. "Mr. Reynolds, I presume? I'm Jason Carter, Alice's son." Scott didn't offer his hand. "I know who you are. What I don't know is why you're here." Jason's smile tightened. "Family matters. I'd prefer to speak with my mother privately." "Anything you have to say to me, you can say in front of Scott," I said firmly. Jason's facade cracked slightly. "Fine. Mom, I've come to apologize. What happened at Christmas? I was under so much stress with the business, with the baby. I made a terrible mistake. I want to make things right." "By make things right, do you mean return my home, my business, my life savings?" His expression flickered. "Well, there are some complications with that. Legal entanglements. But I want us to be a family again. Noah misses his grandmother. Noah doesn't even know me. You never let me hold him. That was Ashley's doing, not mine. She's not well, Mom. Postpartum depression. She's been making poor decisions, influencing me negatively." The attempt to shift blame was so transparent it would have been laughable if it weren't so painful. "What do you really want, Jason?" I asked quietly. His eyes darted around the room, taking in the obvious wealth, the antiques, the art, the subtle signs of Scott's fortune. "The truth? The businesses are struggling. Your clients are leaving. The suppliers won't extend credit anymore. I need your help, your expertise. And yes, financial assistance would be appreciated." "You mean you've run my company into the ground in 3 months, and now you want me to bail you out?" Jason's charm vanished, replaced by familiar irritation. "Look, I didn't come here to be judged. I came because you're my mother, and despite everything, family helps family." Scott, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. "Family doesn't throw family out on Christmas Eve. Family doesn't commit fraud to steal a mother's life's work. Family doesn't show up months later demanding money from the victim of their crimes." Jason's face hardened. "With all due respect, Mr. Reynolds, this doesn't concern you. Alice concerns me. Her well-being concerns me. And right now you're causing her distress in my home, which makes it very much my concern." "Oh, I see." Jason's tone turned nasty. "How convenient for you, Mom. Thrown out by your family, you managed to land right in the lap of luxury. Does he know you're using him as a replacement for Dad? Or is it just his money that attracted you?" The cruel words hit their mark. I flinched, but before I could respond, Scott stepped forward, his expression dangerous. "Mr. Carter, you have exactly 30 seconds to leave my property before I call security. And believe me, they won't be gentle." "Mom?" Jason looked at me, expecting me to defend him as I always had. "Goodbye, Jason." My voice was steady despite the turmoil inside. "Don't come back." His face contorted with rage. "This isn't over. You think you found your safe harbor, but you haven't. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are, abandoning your family, your grandson to play house with a rich man. The world will know you for the gold digger you are." Scott pressed a button on the wall. Almost immediately, 2 security personnel appeared at the door. "Please escort Mr. Carter off the property," Scott said calmly. "He is not to be readmitted under any circumstances." As they led him away, Jason called back. "You'll regret this, Mom. Both of you will." When the front door closed behind them, my legs gave way. Scott was immediately beside me, guiding me to a chair. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice gentle. "No," I admitted, "but I will be." I looked up at him, suddenly worried. "Scott, what Jason said, about me using you, about money, none of that is true. I know." He knelt beside my chair, taking my hands in his. "Alice, I know exactly who you are. a woman of integrity who lost everything and still maintained her dignity, who transformed my son's life and mine through nothing but kindness and skill. Jason can't touch what we have. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to, but a shadow had been cast over the perfect refuge I'd found, and I knew from experience that Jason never made empty threats. He'll try to hurt us, I said. He'll try to damage your reputation, your business. Scott's expression was resolute. Let him try. I've faced worse opponents than an entitled young man with daddy issues. His tone softened. The question is, are you prepared for what might come? Because I meant what I said earlier, Alice. I'm falling in love with you, and I'll fight for us, but only if you want me to. Looking into his eyes, I made my decision. I had spent 4 years letting fear of loneliness dictate my choices. I wouldn't let fear of Jason, of public opinion, of anything, control me again. Yes, I said firmly. I want you to, because I'm falling in love with you too, Scott. And I'm tired of losing the things, the people I love. He leaned forward and kissed me, gentle but certain. As I returned his kiss, I felt something inside me that had been dormant for years finally bloom back to life. Whatever storm Jason was about to unleash, we would weather it together. The attack came faster than we anticipated. 3 days after Jason's visit, I was in the garden with Oliver, designing the layout for his strawberry patch, when Maria hurried toward us. Alice, Scott needs you in his office immediately. Oliver looked up, concerned. Is something wrong? He signed. I kept my expression calm. Probably just boring grown-up business. I'll be back soon to finish our planning, okay? He nodded, but his eyes revealed his doubt. Children always sense when adults are hiding something. I found Scott in his home office, pacing in front of multiple screens displaying news websites and social media platforms. His expression was thunderous. It started, he said without preamble, gesturing to the screens. The headlines made my stomach clench. Tech billionaire Scott Reynolds seduced by gold-digging housekeeper. Inside source reveals how an aging interior designer abandoned her family to pursue billionaire. Exclusive, Scott Reynolds' new girlfriend declared mentally incompetent by family. There were photos of me entering the estate, walking with Scott in the garden, all taken with long-range lenses from beyond the property walls. Most damaging were images of Scott and me kissing on the terrace, clearly taken the night Jason had visited. Jason works fast, I said quietly. He sold a tell-all story to 3 tabloids, Scott confirmed, complete with allegations that you're mentally unstable, that you abandoned your grandson when he needed you, and that you're after my money. I sank into a chair, nausea rising. I knew he'd retaliate, but this... Scott knelt before me, taking my hands. We knew this might happen. We prepared for it. My PR team is already working on responses. But your company, your reputation, are both strong enough to weather this. I've survived corporate espionage and attempted hostile takeovers. Some tabloid gossip won't destroy me. What about Oliver? My voice broke. He'll be exposed to this. Other children can be cruel. Scott's expression darkened. That's my greatest concern. He's already isolated because of his deafness. This will only make it worse. We need to tell him ourselves before he finds out some other way. Agreed. But first we need a plan. Scott stood and paced the room. My legal team is reviewing everything. If Jason made any demonstrably false statements, and I believe he has, we'll sue for defamation. Meanwhile, we need to consider our public response. What are our options? We could issue a statement denying everything, but that legitimizes the stories. We could ignore it completely, but that leaves the narrative in Jason's hands. He paused. Or we could control the story ourselves. How? An exclusive interview with a reputable publication, present our relationship honestly, on our own terms. I considered this. Won't that just fuel more speculation? Possibly, but it gives us a chance to present the truth, that you're a successful businesswoman who was defrauded by your son, that our relationship developed naturally, and that you've signed a legal document renouncing any claim to my assets. I looked up sharply. I haven't signed anything like that. Not yet, Scott said quietly. But I think you should. You don't trust me? The exact opposite. He sat beside me. I trust you completely, Alice. I know you're not interested in my money, but the world won't believe that unless we prove it. A prenuptial agreement that clearly states you want nothing from me financially would silence the gold digger accusations immediately. Prenuptial? My heart skipped. Scott, are you? Not officially, not yet. Not. But I know where this is heading, Alice. I love you. I want to build a life with you. And I want to protect you from these accusations. I felt tears form in my eyes. I never expected any of this. I came here with nothing, expecting nothing, and now you have everything to lose again. Scott's expression was pained. I'm so sorry about that. I shook my head. No, now I have everything to fight for. I straightened my shoulders. Let's do it, all of it. The interview, the legal document, whatever it takes. I won't let Jason destroy this too. Scott's smile was both relieved and proud. There's the fighter I've come to love. As we formulated our plan, a soft knock came at the office door. When Scott opened it, Oliver stood there, his young face tense. I saw you were upset, he signed. Is it because of that man who came to the house? My teacher showed me something on her phone today. It had pictures of you and Alice. The other kids were talking about it. Scott and I exchanged glances. We were already too late. Scott knelt to Oliver's level. Come in, son. We need to talk. For the next hour, we explained the situation in simple terms Oliver could understand. That my son was angry because I was happy with them, that he was telling untrue stories to newspapers, that some people might say unkind things. But why is he angry? Oliver signed, his brow furrowed in confusion. Shouldn't he be happy that you're happy? He should be, I signed back. But sometimes adults have complicated feelings. He's hurt and angry about things that have nothing to do with you. Is he going to take you away from us? The directness of his question broke my heart. No, I signed firmly. I won't let that happen. Your father and I are going to handle this together. Oliver seemed to consider this, then signed decisively. Good, because you belong here now. The simplicity of his acceptance brought tears to my eyes. If only adult relationships could be so uncomplicated. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of meetings with attorneys, PR specialists, and financial advisors. Scott insisted on assembling the best team to counter Jason's attacks, which had escalated to include a civil lawsuit claiming I had abandoned my familial responsibilities and owed financial support to Jason and Noah. It's frivolous, Scott's lead attorney, Patricia Winters, assured us. No court will uphold a son's claim that his mother owes him financial support, especially given the evidence we're gathering about his fraudulent activities. What evidence? I asked. We've located 3 former employees from Carter Interiors who are willing to testify that Jason instructed them to divert company funds to personal accounts. We've also found the notary who witnessed your signature on the property transfer. She's admitted she never actually saw you sign the documents. Hope flickered within me for the first time. Does that mean I could get my business back? My home? Patricia's expression was cautious. Potentially, but it would be a lengthy legal battle, and Jason would fight it every step of the way. I want to pursue it, I said firmly. Not just for me, but for Raymond's legacy. He built that company from nothing. I can't let it die because of Jason's greed. Scott took my hand. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But there's something else you should know. He nodded to Patricia. The attorney opened a folder. We've been investigating Jason's financial situation. It's precarious. Carter Interiors is barely operational. Suppliers have cut him off. Staff has been reduced to a skeleton crew. And there are multiple liens against the business assets. The house he's living in, your former home, has 3 months of missed mortgage payments. Foreclosure proceedings could begin any day. I sat back, stunned. He destroyed everything in just 3 months? From what we can determine, he's been borrowing heavily to fund an extravagant lifestyle. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, a new car. Patricia pushed a document toward me. This is a credit report. He's maxed out 7 credit cards in your name. Anger flared within me. That's identity theft. Yes, and it's criminal. But pursuing charges would likely mean your grandson's father going to jail. Is that what you want? The question gave me pause. Noah was innocent in all of this. Did I want him growing up with his father in prison, knowing his grandmother put him there? I need time to think, I said finally. Scott squeezed my hand. Of course. There's no rush to decide anything. That evening, we received an unexpected call from Maria. Miss Carter, there's a young woman at the gate asking to see you. She says her name is Ashley Carter. Scott and I exchanged surprised looks. Jason's wife. What could she want? Should I send her away? Maria asked. I hesitated, then made a decision. No, let her in, but have security nearby, just in case. 20 minutes later, Ashley was shown into the living room where Scott and I waited. She looked different from when I'd last seen her, thinner, more haggard, the designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. Most noticeably, she was alone. No Noah. Thank you for seeing me, she said, her usual haughtiness absent. I know you have no reason to trust me. Why are you here, Ashley? I asked directly. She twisted her hands nervously. Jason doesn't know I've come. He'd be furious if he found out. She took a deep breath. Things are bad, Alice, really bad. The money's gone, all of it. The businesses are failing. We're about to lose the house. I'm aware, I said neutrally. What you probably don't know is that Jason's been gambling, heavily. It started after the baby came. The pressure, he said, just to blow off steam. But it's gotten worse. He owes money to people you don't want to owe money to. Scott leaned forward. Why tell us this? What do you want? Ashley looked directly at me. I want out. For myself and Noah. Jason's spiraling, and I won't let my son go down with him. What exactly are you asking for? I kept my voice steady, though my heart ached thinking of my grandson in this situation. Help me leave him. Safely. With Noah. Her voice trembled. I don't have anywhere to go. No money of my own. Everything's in Jason's name now. I studied her carefully. Why should I trust you, Ashley? You were part of throwing me out on Christmas Eve. You kept my grandson from me. You supported Jason in everything. Tears filled her eyes. Because I was wrong. So wrong. I got caught up in the lifestyle, the money, the status. Jason promised me everything, and I believed him. But now I see what it cost, what we did to you, what he's doing to our family. I'm ashamed. She wiped her eyes. I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for Noah. He deserves better than this. Scott and I exchanged glances, having a silent conversation with our eyes. Finally, he nodded slightly. I need to see Noah, I said, to know he's all right. He's with my sister today. I can bring him tomorrow. Ashley hesitated. But Jason can't know. He's using Noah as leverage, threatening that I'll never see him again if I leave. That's parental kidnapping, Scott interjected. It's illegal. So is fraud and identity theft, Ashley countered. But that didn't stop him before. I made my decision. Bring Noah tomorrow. We'll talk more then. In the meantime, don't let Jason know you've contacted us. After Ashley left, Scott turned to me. Do you believe her? I'm not sure, I admitted. But if there's any chance Noah is in danger, I have to help. It could be a trap, he warned. Jason trying another angle to get to us. I know, but it's a risk I have to take. He's my grandson, Scott. Scott pulled me into his arms. Then we'll face it together. Tomorrow. That night I barely slept, my mind racing with possibilities. Was Ashley sincere? Was Noah truly in danger? Or was this another of Jason's manipulations? By morning I had no answers, only a grandmother's determination to protect her grandson, regardless of the cost. Ashley arrived the next day as promised, with Noah in her arms. Seeing my grandson for the first time in months, I felt my heart constrict. He had grown so much, now 8 months old, with chubby cheeks and curious eyes that reminded me painfully of Raymond. Would you like to hold him? Ashley asked, a peace offering in the form of my grandson. I took Noah gently, breathing in his baby scent. He studied me solemnly before breaking into a toothless smile that melted away months of hurt in an instant. He likes you, Ashley said softly. He doesn't know me, I replied, unable to keep the sadness from my voice. I've shown him your pictures. I tell him about his grandma Alice every night. When I looked at her in surprise, she added, I was wrong about so many things, but I want him to know his family, his real family. Scott arranged for us to speak privately in the garden room while he took Noah to meet Oliver, who had been curious about the baby since hearing of his arrival. Once we were alone, I turned to Ashley. Tell me everything, the complete truth. For the next hour, she detailed the nightmare her life with Jason had become, the mounting debts, his increasing drinking and gambling, the explosive anger when confronted. She showed me bruises on her wrist that she'd covered with makeup. It started after we lost the business, she explained. Just grabbing at first, then pushing. Last week he threw a glass that narrowly missed my head. That's when I knew I had to get out. Why didn't you go to your parents? I asked. They warned me about Jason from the beginning, said he was too smooth, too eager for their money. She looked down. I was too proud to admit they were right. And now, I'm too ashamed. I thought of how Jason had isolated me from my friends after Raymond died, how he'd made me dependent on him emotionally while draining me financially. The pattern was clear, and now he was repeating it with his wife and child. What do you want, Ashley? Specifically? A fresh start somewhere he can't find us. Money for an apartment, just until I can find work. I have a degree in marketing I've never used because Jason wanted me at home. She met my eyes directly. I'm not asking for handouts. I'll pay back every penny once I'm on my feet. I just need help getting away safely. I believed her. The desperation in her eyes was too raw to be feigned. There's a condition, I said finally. I want regular access to Noah. Not supervised visits, not limited time. A real relationship with my grandson. Of course, she agreed immediately. He needs his grandmother. We were still discussing logistics when Scott returned with Noah and Oliver. The boys had apparently bonded quickly. Oliver was signing animatedly while Noah watched, fascinated by the hand movements. Oliver's teaching him baby signs, Scott explained with a smile. He says every baby should know how to communicate, hearing or not. The sight of them together, Oliver carefully showing Noah simple signs for milk and more, cemented my resolve. This was family being formed before my eyes, connections being created that transcended blood. As Ashley prepared to leave with a plan in place for her safe relocation, the estate's security system chimed an alert. "Mr. Reynolds," the head of security called through the intercom. "Jason Carter is at the gate, demanding entrance. He appears intoxicated and is threatening to call the police if we don't let him see his wife." Ashley paled. "He must have followed me. I was so careful." Scott immediately took charge. "Tell security to stall him. Ashley, take Noah upstairs with Oliver and Maria. Alice and I will handle this." As Ashley hurried away with the children, Scott turned to me. "Are you ready for this confrontation? It could get ugly." "I've been avoiding ugliness my entire life," I said, straightening my shoulders. "It's time I faced it head on." We met Jason in the front entry hall, where security had reluctantly admitted him after his threats escalated to calling the local police. He looked terrible, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, expensive clothes rumpled. He reeked of alcohol. "Where is she?" he demanded, swaying slightly. "Where's my wife? My son?" "They're safe," Scott replied calmly, "which is our primary concern right now." Jason's gaze landed on me, his eyes narrowing. You turned her against me. Not satisfied with stealing my mother, Reynolds? Had to take my wife too?" "No one stole anyone, Jason," I said firmly. "Ashley came to us for help because she's afraid of you." He laughed bitterly. "Afraid? That's rich. Ashley's never been afraid of anything except losing her designer wardrobe. What lies has she been telling you?" "She showed us the bruises, Jason," Scott said quietly. Jason's facade cracked momentarily before he recovered. "She's clumsy. Always has been. Probably did it herself to gain sympathy." "Like you forged my signature?" I asked. "Like you lied about me being mentally incompetent? Like you're lying now?" "You want to talk about lies?" Jason's voice rose. "How about the lie that you were a good mother, a good businesswoman? Dad built that company, not you. You just rode his coattails. And after he died, you were pathetic, throwing money at me just so I wouldn't leave you alone." Each word struck like a physical blow, but I refused to flinch. "You're right about one thing. I was pathetic. Too afraid of being alone to see what you were becoming. Too blind with grief to set boundaries. But that doesn't justify what you did." "What I did was save those businesses from your incompetence. I modernized, streamlined." "You destroyed them," I interrupted. "In 3 months, you've run Carter Interiors into the ground. 30 years of reputation gone. And for what? Gambling debts? Designer clothes? Your father would be ashamed." Jason lunged forward suddenly, his face contorted with rage. "Don't you dare speak for my father!" Scott stepped between us, his voice deadly calm. "That's enough. You're leaving now, Jason. Voluntarily or with assistance, your choice." Security personnel materialized on either side, waiting for Scott's signal. Jason looked from Scott to me, then to the security guards. For a moment, I thought he might actually attack. Then his shoulders slumped. "Fine. Take my wife. Take my son. Take everything." His voice broke. "That's what you do best, isn't it, Mom? Take things that aren't yours. First Dad's company, now Reynolds' fortune. Does he know you're just using him to get back at me?" "Jason," my voice softened despite everything. "This isn't about revenge. It never was. This is about me finally finding happiness after losing your father. About building something new instead of clinging to the past." I stepped closer. "And it's about you getting help before you lose everything that truly matters." "Help?" he scoffed. "I don't need help. I need my family back. I need my business back. I need you to stop interfering in my life. Your business is failing because of your actions, not mine. Your wife left because she fears you. These are consequences, Jason, not interference." "So that's it? You're choosing them over me? Your own son?" The pain in his voice was real, beneath the anger and alcohol. For a moment I saw the little boy who'd followed Raymond around the house, eager to help, desperate for approval. "I'm choosing healing over destruction," I said gently. "For all of us, including you, if you'll accept it." Jason stared at me for a long moment, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. Then the walls came back up. "Keep them," he said coldly. "All of them. But this isn't over. You haven't seen what I'm capable of yet." As security escorted him out, I felt a profound sadness. The son I'd raised was lost somewhere inside that angry, desperate man. I wondered if he would ever find his way back. Scott put his arm around me as we watched Jason's car speed away down the driveway. "Are you all right?" "No," I admitted. "But I will be. We all will be." Later that evening, after Ashley and Noah were settled in a secure location arranged by Scott's team, we gathered in the family room, Scott, Oliver, and I, for a quiet dinner. As I watched Oliver carefully sign a story for Scott, I felt a strange sense of peace despite the day's turmoil. This was family, too, not bound by blood, but by choice, by love, by mutual respect. Jason might never understand that family wasn't a possession to be controlled, but a garden to be tended, requiring patience, care, and room to grow. As if reading my thoughts, Scott reached across the table and took my hand. "Whatever happens next, we face it together. All of us." I squeezed his hand in response, knowing we had battles still to fight, but no longer afraid to face them. Spring came to the Reynolds estate in a riot of color. Daffodils and tulips I'd planted months earlier, now blooming in vibrant sweeps across the gardens. Oliver's strawberry patch was thriving, tiny white blossoms promising summer fruit. The legal battles with Jason continued in the background of our increasingly settled life. Scott's attorneys had filed countersuits for fraud and identity theft, while also negotiating with Ashley for a formal custody arrangement for Noah. The media frenzy had largely died down, especially after our planned interview with a respected business magazine had presented our relationship in its true light. One particularly beautiful April afternoon, I was working in the Japanese garden when Oliver found me, signing excitedly. "Dad wants you to come to the main garden, right now. It's important." "Is something wrong?" I signed back, concern flaring. "No, it's a surprise." His expression was a mixture of excitement and mischief. "But I'm not supposed to tell you what kind." Curious and slightly apprehensive, I followed Oliver through the winding paths to the central garden, the first area I'd restored upon arriving at the Reynolds estate. What awaited me there took my breath away. The entire garden had been transformed. Hundreds of candles and glass lanterns lined the paths, despite the daylight. White roses, Raymond's favorite flower, filled urns that hadn't been there that morning. A string quartet played softly beside the central fountain. And there stood Scott, handsome in a tailored suit, looking simultaneously confident and nervous. Oliver ran ahead to join him, taking up position solemnly at his father's side. "What's all this?" I asked as I approached, my heart racing. "Alice," Scott began, taking my hands in his. "4 months ago, you came into our lives when we needed you most. You brought light back to these gardens, to this home, to my son's world, and to mine." Behind him, Oliver began signing, mirroring his father's spoken words. "You've shown me that second chances aren't just possible. They're beautiful. That love isn't defined by blood or by time, but by choice. The daily choice to care, to grow, to build something meaningful together." Scott released my hands to sign alongside his words, the movement still slightly awkward but heartfelt. "Oliver and I have been practicing this for weeks. We both want to ask you the same question." Together, father and son signed, "Will you marry us? Will you make our family complete?" Scott knelt, producing a ring, a simple but elegant emerald surrounded by diamonds. I chose emerald because it represents growth, compassion, and new beginnings, everything you've brought into our lives. Tears blurred my vision. At 60, I had never expected to find love again, had never imagined a second chance at family, at happiness. Yes, I signed and spoke simultaneously. Yes to both of you, to all of us. Oliver whooped with delight, breaking the solemnity of the moment as he threw himself into a 3-person hug. Scott laughed, lifting his son with one arm while keeping the other around me. "There's one more thing," Scott said after Oliver had calmed down. "I've had my legal team prepare something." He nodded to Maria, who approached with a leather folder. "This is a prenuptial agreement," he explained, opening it. "But probably not the kind you're expecting." Inside was a document stating that in the event of marriage, Scott would transfer 20% ownership of Carter Interiors, which he had purchased from Jason's creditors last month, directly to me, with another 20% placed in a trust for Oliver. "You bought my company?" I asked, stunned. "I bought back your legacy," Scott corrected. "The remaining 60% will be held jointly between us. I want us to rebuild it together, Alice, not as an employee and employer, but as equal partners." I stared at the document, then at Scott. "You didn't have to do this." "I know. I wanted to." His expression grew serious. "There's something else. The last page." I turned to it and gasped. It was the deed to my former home, the brownstone Jason had taken. "The bank foreclosed last week. I purchased it this morning." Scott took my hand. "It's yours, Alice, regardless of whether you marry me. No strings attached." "But why?" "Because some things shouldn't be lost. Some legacies deserve to be preserved." He squeezed my hand. "What you do with it is entirely your decision. Sell it, rent it, move back into it." "No," I interrupted. "My home is here now, with you and Oliver, but—" An idea formed as I looked at the deed. "But I know someone who might need it." 2 days later, I sat across from Ashley in the garden room, Noah playing on a blanket between us. She had settled into a small apartment with Scott's help, had found part-time work, and was slowly rebuilding her life away from Jason's influence. "I don't understand," she said, staring at the keys I'd placed on the table. "You're giving me your house? Your old house?" "Not giving. Offering." I watched as Noah pulled himself up to standing, holding onto a chair. "It's a large house. Too large for just you and Noah. The upper floor could be rented out to provide income. The location is excellent for schools when Noah is older." "But why? After everything Jason and I did—" "Because Noah deserves stability. Because you're trying to create a better life for him. And because—" I hesitated, then continued. "Because I believe in second chances. For all of us." Ashley's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve this kindness. It's not about deserving. It's about what we choose to do with the chances we're given." I smiled at Noah, who was attempting his first wobbly steps between furniture. "Besides, this arrangement ensures I'll see my grandson regularly." "Every day if you want," Ashley promised. "He needs his grandmother." Later that evening, I told Scott about my decision. "Is it too much?" I asked. "Offering Jason's wife our old home?" "It's exactly who you are, Alice. Generous, forgiving, always thinking of others." He pulled me close. "It's why we love you." As we sat on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the gardens gold, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. From the devastation of Christmas Eve to the joy of this spring evening, a path of loss and renewal, of endings and beginnings. "What are you thinking about?" Scott asked. "That sometimes you have to lose everything to find what truly matters." He kissed my forehead. "And have you found it?" Looking at the ring on my finger, At Oliver teaching sign language to Maria across the garden, at the estate that had become my home, I knew the answer with absolute certainty. Yes, I've found exactly where I belong. The weeks leading up to our wedding were filled with both joy and tension. Joy in the planning, in Oliver's excitement, in the daily strengthening of our unconventional family. Tension in the knowledge that Jason remained a volatile presence on the periphery of our lives. His legal attacks had largely failed. Courts dismissed his claims of abandonment and mental incompetence with prejudice. But he had refused settlement offers for the identity theft charges, seemingly determined to face a criminal trial rather than admit wrongdoing. 2 weeks before the wedding, as I was reviewing final floral arrangements in the garden, Maria approached with a troubled expression. "Ms. Carter, there's someone at the gate. It's your son." My stomach tightened. "Jason, is he causing problems?" "No, actually. He appears sober, calm. He says he just wants to talk. Security has checked him. He's not armed, not intoxicated." I hesitated, weighing the risks. Jason had been unpredictable, desperate. Yet something in me, the mother who remembered the boy he had been, couldn't turn him away without at least hearing what he had to say. "I'll see him, in the front garden where security can observe. I'll inform Mr. Reynolds." "No," I decided. "Let me handle this first. I'll call if I need him." Jason was waiting on a bench near the entrance, dressed simply in jeans and a button-down shirt, a stark contrast to his usual designer attire. He stood when he saw me, his body language hesitant rather than aggressive. "Mom," he said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. "Thank you for seeing me." "What do you want, Jason?" I kept my distance, wary despite his apparently changed demeanor. "To talk, just talk," he gestured to the bench. "Please?" I sat at the opposite end, maintaining space between us. Up close I could see changes in him, weight loss, dark circles under his eyes, a humility in his posture that I'd never seen before. "I've been in rehab," he said without preamble. 30 days. Got out last week." This surprised me. "Rehab?" "For gambling and alcohol." He stared at his hands. "Turns out I've been self-medicating for years. Since Dad died, actually." I remained silent, waiting. "The counselors there, they made us look at patterns, at why we do what we do." He finally met my eyes. "I had to face a lot of ugly truths about myself, about what I did to you." "And?" I kept my voice neutral, though my heart was racing. "And I'm sorry, so incredibly, unforgivably sorry." His voice broke. "I destroyed everything. Our relationship, Dad's company, my marriage. I stole from you, lied about you, humiliated you publicly. All because I couldn't face my own failures." The rawness in his voice sounded genuine, but I'd been deceived by him before. "Why are you telling me this now, Jason?" "Because the program requires making amends where possible. But more than that," he took a deep breath, "because I miss my mother. I miss the woman who taught me integrity, who showed me what real strength looks like. I threw that away, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to know that I recognize what I did, that I'm trying to change." I studied him carefully. "And what do you want from me now?" "Nothing." The words seemed to pain him. "I know I've destroyed your trust. I know you're building a new life, a better one. I don't expect to be part of it. I just—" He struggled visibly. "I just wanted to apologize before your wedding, to clear the air if possible, so that day isn't shadowed by what I did." "How did you know about the wedding?" "Ashley told me. We've been talking, not reconciling," he added quickly, "but discussing Noah. I'm trying to be a better father, if nothing else." I felt tears threaten. The boy I'd raised was somewhere in this broken man, perhaps finally emerging from the shell of entitlement and anger he built around himself. Jason, recovery isn't just about apologies. It's about actions, about consistent change over time. I know. I'm trying. I got a job. Nothing fancy. Just sales at a furniture store. I'm making payments toward the credit card debt. Small steps. A question that had been haunting me for months finally surfaced. Why, Jason? Why did you do it? Was it really just about money? He considered this, seeming to search for honest words rather than quick excuses. At first it was about money, about the lifestyle I thought I deserved, but underneath, I think I was angry. At Dad for dying, at you for moving on when I couldn't. Every time you tried to build something new, it felt like you were forgetting him. He shook his head. It wasn't rational. It was grief twisted into something ugly. His insight surprised me. That sounds like something your therapist helped you understand. 3 sessions a week. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Turns out I had a lot to work through. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of years of pain and betrayal between us, but something else too, a fragile thread of understanding. I don't expect you to forgive me, Jason finally said. I wouldn't in your position, but I am trying to make things right in whatever small ways I can. I thought of Ashley and Noah in my old brownstone, of the recovering business Scott and I were rebuilding together, of the new family I'd found when I'd lost everything. The pain Jason had caused was real, but so was the unexpected joy that had followed. I believe in second chances, Jason. I'm living one. Hope flickered in his eyes. What does that mean? It means I'm willing to watch and wait, to see if your actions match your words over time. Real change isn't proven in a single conversation, but in consistent choices, day after day. That's more than I deserve. Probably, I agreed. But it's what your father would want. And it's what I want too, to see the son I raised find his way back to the values we taught him. As we talked further, I felt Scott's presence before I saw him, a protective energy approaching from the main house. Alice? His voice was controlled but wary. Everything all right? Jason stood, tension returning to his body. Mr. Reynolds, I'm not here to cause problems. That would be a first, Scott replied coolly. Scott, I intervened. Jason came to apologize. He's been in rehabilitation. He's trying to make amends. Scott's expression remained skeptical, but he nodded slightly. Admirable, if genuine. I understand your doubt, Jason said, surprising me again with his lack of defensiveness. I've given you every reason to mistrust me. I just wanted my mother to know I'm sorry for what I did. To her, and by extension, to you and your son. Scott studied him for a long moment. Actions speak louder than words, Mr. Carter. I'm aware. That's why I brought this. Jason reached slowly into his pocket and withdrew an envelope, which he handed to me. It's not much, but it's a start. Inside was a cashier's check for $5,000 made out to me. It's the first repayment, Jason explained. I've set up an automatic payment each month. It will take years, but eventually I'll repay what I took. The amount was a fraction of what he'd stolen, but the gesture itself was significant. Thank you, I said simply. Jason nodded, then turned to leave. At the garden gate, he paused. I heard about what you did for Ashley and Noah, the house. That was incredibly generous, after everything. Their family, I said. Despite everything, something like grief passed across his face. Yes, they are. He straightened his shoulders. Congratulations on your wedding, Mom. I hope it brings you the happiness you deserve. After he left, Scott turned to me, concern evident. Do you believe him? I'm not sure, I admitted. But I want to. I want to believe people can change, that they can find their way back from terrible mistakes. Because that's who you are, someone who sees the potential for growth, even in the most damaged gardens. Scott pulled me into his arms. It's why I love you. But be careful, Alice. Some plants have deep, poisonous roots. I know. I won't let him hurt us again, any of us. But if there's a chance for healing, real healing, then we'll approach it with cautious optimism. Scott kissed the top of my head. Together, our wedding day dawned clear and perfect, the May sunshine illuminating the gardens at their spring peak. We'd chosen a simple ceremony in the central garden, surrounded only by those who truly mattered. Oliver as Scott's best man, Maria as my maid of honor, Ashley and Noah, and a handful of close friends. To my surprise and cautious joy, Jason had remained respectful of boundaries in the weeks following our confrontation. No legal attacks, no media leaks, just weekly updates to Ashley about his continued therapy and recovery efforts. I had invited him to attend the ceremony, not to participate, but to observe from a distance if he wished. I wasn't sure if he would come. As Maria helped me with the final touches on my simple ivory dress, I gazed out the window at the garden below. From desolation to beauty, from abandonment to care, the transformation mirrored my own journey. You look beautiful, Maria said, adjusting the small spray of fresh flowers in my hair. Nervous? Not about marrying Scott, I replied honestly, just about whether I've earned this happiness. If anyone has earned it, you have. She squeezed my hand. Ready? The garden path was lined with white roses and blue delphiniums. As I walked slowly toward where Scott and Oliver waited beneath a flower-covered arbor, my heart swelled with emotions too complex for simple names. Grief and joy, loss and discovery, endings and beginnings, all woven together in the tapestry of a life I never could have imagined 6 months ago. Scott's face as he watched me approach was everything. Love, wonder, certainty. Beside him, Oliver beamed with pride, handsome in his first suit, signing enthusiastically to Noah, who watched wide-eyed from Ashley's arms. As I reached them, I noticed a figure standing at the garden's edge. Jason, respectfully distant, sober and solemn in a simple dark suit. Our eyes met briefly, and he nodded once. Acknowledgement, perhaps acceptance, possibly even a kind of blessing. I nodded back, then turned my full attention to the man waiting for me. Scott took my hands, his eyes never leaving mine. Alice Carter, he began, both speaking and signing for Oliver's benefit. When you came into our lives on that Christmas night, you brought with you a gift I thought I'd lost forever, the capacity for joy. Oliver stepped forward on cue, signing his part with perfect clarity. You taught me that being different isn't something to hide. It's something to celebrate. You showed Dad and me how to talk to each other, not just with hands, but with hearts. Scott continued, You transformed our garden from neglect to beauty, our house from emptiness to home, our lives from existence to purpose. Together, father and son signed. We promise to love you, honor you, and grow with you through all the seasons of our lives. With tears blurring my vision, I responded in kind, speaking and signing the vows I'd practiced for weeks to get just right. Scott and Oliver Reynolds, you found me when I was broken, and instead of seeing what was damaged, you saw what could grow. You offered me soil in which to plant new dreams, sunshine to nurture them, and love to help them flourish. I turned specifically to Oliver. I promise to always listen with my eyes as well as my heart, to respect your voice however you choose to express it, and to be the mother your own mother would have wanted for you. To Scott, I promise to be your partner in all things, to face whatever storms may come with courage and grace, and to never take for granted the miracle of second chances. To both, I promise to help tend the garden of our family with patience, wisdom, and boundless love. As we exchanged rings, simple platinum bands engraved with intertwining vines, I felt a profound sense of rightness. This was where I belonged. This was the family I was meant to find. The small gathering moved to a reception in another part of the garden, where tables had been set with fresh flowers and simple elegance. As Scott and I shared our first dance, I caught sight of Jason speaking quietly with Ashley near the edge of the celebration. Their body language was respectful, distant but not hostile. Two people who had hurt each other, perhaps finding a way toward civil co-parenting. Later, as twilight settled over the gardens and soft lights illuminated the paths, Scott found me taking a moment alone near the Japanese meditation garden. "Happy?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Beyond words, I leaned back against him. I never thought I'd find this again. Family, purpose, love. "It found you," he corrected gently, "because your heart remained open despite everything." We stood in comfortable silence, watching fireflies begin to dance above the garden. From the reception, we could hear Oliver's laughter as he played with Noah. "I saw Jason speaking with Ashley," Scott said. Peacefully, it seemed. "Yes, small steps, but important ones." "Do you think he's genuinely changed?" I considered this. I think he's trying. Whether he can sustain it, only time will tell, but I choose to hope. Scott turned me in his arms to face him. "That's what I love most about you, Alice Reynolds. Your capacity for hope. Your belief that even the most neglected garden can bloom again with the right care. Some lessons take a lifetime to learn." I touched his face gently. I lost everything at 60, only to find that everything I truly needed was waiting to be discovered. As we rejoined our guests, I felt a sense of completion, of wholeness. 1 year ago, I had been a different woman. Financially secure but emotionally adrift, surrounded by possessions but lacking true connection. Now, on a perfect May evening, I was rich in all the ways that truly mattered. Loved by a man who saw me clearly, cherished by a child who trusted me completely, reconnected with a grandson who represented future possibilities. The gardens around us, restored, renewed, vibrant with life, stood as living testimony to the truth I had discovered through pain and joy alike. Sometimes you must lose everything to find what truly matters, and when you do, you hold on to it with both hands, nurturing it daily with gratitude, patience, and unwavering love. In the fading light, surrounded by family both born and chosen, I knew with absolute certainty that this moment, these people, this love, was worth everything I had lost along the way. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar? Comment below. And if you enjoyed this story, check out 2 other stories that are channel favorites. My Daughter Stole My Identity and The Inheritance That Changed Everything.